This is the Waupaca County Board of Supervisors meeting.
Good morning, everyone. Please excuse my voice today. She had it last week, and that's her going away present.
Yeah, great. It worked. Can't talk.
I'll call this Waupaca County Board of Supervisors meeting to order on this Tuesday, December 20th. Please press your roll call buttons.
Okay, roll call shows 23 members present, 3 excused, and 1 absent.
Clerk Robbins, has the open meeting statement been fulfilled in a legal manner?
Yes, sir.
Thank you. Today, when we stand for the silent meditation and pledge of the flag, when we stand, please remember those supervisors that aren't here today that have some health challenges, and any of those out there that do have some health challenges. It's a tough time to be sick, so please remember them in your prayers when we stand. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you very much. I did put pens on your desk like this. Before you use them, you have to take the plastic tip off the... You figure that out. And not only that, this back part, this little spongy thing is good for your computers or whatever. That's what it's there for, to move your screen. Works well. You had the minutes sent to you either by your iPad or mail. Is there a motion to approve the minutes? Motion by Mr. McClone, a second by Mr. Quisman. Please vote.
Last chance to vote. Motion carries 23-0. Also, please, there is an agenda on your desk in case you didn't get that. We did add a revision on December 15th. Number 8D added resolution number 27, but that was posted properly, everything. I'm just not sure everybody got it in the mail or via your laptop, your iPad. No.
Oh, okay. Explain that, Mary.
There's no approve agenda on your agenda because that's what Mr. Blaska told us we didn't have to put on our agenda. So it's not on there.
So there. Okay, as we go on here, I see Mr. David Thiel here from the Waupaca County Economic Development Corp. to address us this morning. Morning, Mr. Thiel.
Morning, everyone.
Morning.
Back in September, we wrote off some loans. One of them was Spirit, but at the time, it really wasn't ready, so I'm coming back today because there was a sale that took place of the assets to another company that wasn't completed.
Yeah, Mayor, can you speak? Doesn't sound like his mic is on. Is there something that's, thank you. There, look. It's not plugging into the wall, Dave.
Yeah.
You have to talk really loud.
I can, yeah, okay.
Do you want to maybe talk through Gary's?
Can anyone hear me if I talk like this?
It's probably easier.
We probably don't want to hear it anyway.
It's a good point, Dick. So, back in September, when we wrote off some of the loans that were no longer viable, one of those was Spirit Implements, but that loan was not finished as far as there was a transaction taking place. So, there was a purchase of the assets, and that didn't take place until December 8th. And so I'm coming back today to actually officially write off the loan and for you to give me permission to release the mortgage and the UCC and the guarantee. And I could certainly go into a lot more detail if you want me to do that about what took place with this loan. But that's why I'm back today. So we didn't officially write the loan off in December or in September. We need to do it today. Yes, Mr. Jolney.
If the assets were sold, what's the total we're writing off?
We are writing off $71,805.27.
Thank you.
So we'll need an official motion for that approval. There's a motion by Mr. Johnson and a second by Mr. Muck. Any questions or discussion regarding this? Mr. Federowicz?
Well, I think just for clarification, Dave, there were no assets for us to get.
We were in third position behind Farmers State Bank and the SBA. And Farmers State had first on the equipment. So the equipment was appraised out at $550,000. And so they took that. And the building was appraised at 1.255. And so the SBA, they actually gave the SBA their money because they didn't want the feds to be involved at any point anymore. So they paid the Fed loan off, and then they took the rest of it. So there was a $194,000 shortfall, and that's Farmers State got in touch with me and asked if we would forgive a portion of that debt, and they would be forgiving the rest of that debt. They had obviously lost a considerable amount of money on this deal, not just with that part, but over the course of the years. So those were the figures at the end.
You have a question, Mr. Clifton? Yes.
Did we have a choice if Farmers State Bank said, would we forgive it? Did we have a choice? Could we have said no?
Well, we could have said no, yes. And at that point, the people that wanted to buy the business would have walked away, so we wouldn't have a business in Waupaca with 10 jobs. And they're going to invest, they told me, over $1.2 million trying to grow this business. So it didn't seem like a good idea to say no.
Any other comments or questions? Please vote.
Last chance to vote. Motion carries 23-0.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Mary. No, excuse me. We'll go on to item 7, ordinances and amendments to the general code of ordinance. Item A, chapter 34, 2016-620, Z-020-16, Kalamakwa. Tanner C. Bird from a public recreation and forestry district to an AWT, agriculture and woodland transition district with a conditional use permit for a mini warehouse on approximately 15 acres. Good morning, Ryan.
Sounds good. Okay. So this is a rezone from a public recreation to AWT for the purpose of a mini warehouse. The reason why this property is originally zoned public recreation is because it was owned by the city of New London for several years. They were intending on using it for land spreading. That never came to pass, and now it's in private hands, and they want to call it as mini warehouse. So that's why we need to do the rezone to an AWT district.
Yep. The motion for approval. Motion by Mr. Fleet, and second by Mr. Fredowitz. Questions and discussion? Seeing none, please vote.
Last chance to vote. Motion carries 23-0.
next item is B, amend Chapter 1, General Government, Section 1.02. Administrative coordinator shall be appointed by the county board chair and approved by the county board. I'll go back.
Something's not, I think my last day here has been cursed. My printer's not working either. I can't get it out.
All memorable.
Okay, I'm sorry what I said about you. I'm really sorry.
Remember in the spirits of electricity.
Oh, that's okay. Yeah, you can't run it. Something is really wrong. Yay! And now this is working too, so what did you do?
This one had a bad cord.
King is left. Just think when Jill is here next year, it'll be all new stuff.
Yeah.
Thank you, Ron. Good
Yeah,
job.
thanks, Ron.
Okay, I'll read it again. Item B, amend Chapter 1, General Government, Section 1.02, Administrative Coordinator shall be appointed by the county board chair and approved by the county board. This goes back to the open session meeting of the Executive Committee on August 30th, 2016. Amend Chapter 1 of the Waupaca County Code of Ordinances, 1.02, A2, motion. Supervisor Johnson moved, and Supervisor Penny seconded the motion to amend Chapter 1, Section 102, A2 to delete the words county clerk. Mayor Robbins is hereby designated as administrative coordinator and add part-time administrative coordinator shall be appointed by the county board chair and approved by the county board of supervisors. The motion was carried without a negative vote. A further note on that, Wisconsin Counties Association has relayed to us that it should not be an elected position for part-time administrative coordinator. In considering this, the fact that this position needs some history with the county and supervisor experience, and that's where that all came from. So, I would entertain a motion to that effect. Motion by Mr. Penny, and a second by Mr. Newman. Any questions or discussion? Please vote.
Last chance to vote. Motion carries 23-0.
We're down to resolutions. Item 8 is resolutions. A, resolution number 24, 2016-2017. Enact legislation to increase Medicaid reimbursement rates.
Now therefore let it be resolved that Waupaca County Board of Supervisors urges Governor Scott Walker and the Wisconsin Legislature to provide sufficient Medicaid funding for nursing facilities in the 2017-19 state budget to address the Medicaid deficit currently facing Wisconsin nursing facilities and provide facilities with the financial wherewithal to compete for caregiving staff and ensure quality care for the Medicaid recipients residing in the state's nursing facilities. Be it further resolved that this resolution be forwarded by the clerk to Wisconsin Counties Association, Waupaca County State Representatives, and State Senators, Joint Committee on Finance, and Governor Scott Walker. Recommended for introduction by Waupaca County Lakeview Manor Committee and Legislative Judicial Ethics, Safety, and Security.
Like a motion for approval. Motion by Supervisor Pullman, second by Supervisor Murphy. Questions or discussion? Please vote.
Last chance to vote. Motion carries 23-0.
Resolution number 25, 2016-2017. Amend ordinance 45 for the town of Muckwa. PLUM-07-2016 in compliance with the Wisconsin state statutes sub 66.101, parentheses 4.
This is in regards to the same ordinance that you just amended, but this is the resolution that goes with that for Town of Umpqua. Now therefore, let it be resolved that Waupaca County Planning and Zoning Committee does hereby recommend the Waupaca County Board of Supervisors adopt an ordinance amending the comprehensive plan map as originally adopted in ordinance number 45 as follows. See attached documents. Waupaca County Planning and Zoning, Legislative, Judicial, Ethics, Safety, and Security.
So motion by Supervisor Fleece and a second by Supervisor Federowitz for approval. Any questions or discussion? Seeing none, please vote.
Last chance to vote. Motion carries 23-0.
Item C is resolution number 26, 2016-2017. Highway Department Facility Architectural Firm and Engineering Firm.
Whereas Waupaca County Highway Committee budget funds up to $7,500 for Phase 1 and it's a Highway Enterprise Fund. Now therefore be it resolved upon the recommendation of Waupaca County Highway Special Building Committee, Waupaca County Board of Supervisors authorizes the hiring of Bray Associates Architects Incorporated to complete Phase 1 of the architectural and engineering services for Waupaca County Highway Department facility. Recommended for introduction by Waupaca County Highway and Legislative, Judicial, Ethics, Safety, and Security Committees.
There is a motion for approval by Mr. Jordan. Do we have a second? Second by Supervisor Mock. Questions or discussion? Yes, Supervisor Craig.
Can we have Casey please explain this?
He will be coming up
Later on the agenda.
later in the agenda.
So we should vote for this now and he'll explain it later?
I think that's the way it shows it on here, Pat.
Okay.
Okay? Thank you. Yes, Supervisor Boyer.
We've approved 71,000. How much is the bid on this particular company? What are they charging?
Yes, phase one is is $7,500. Yeah, $7,500 for phase one. The project is 5 phases long.
And we have chosen this one company to do phase 1. How much of the 7,000 are they charging?
That is the price. That's the contract price for their services.
And as I understand it, their phase 1 is going to let us know just about what we need and what it's all going to entail.
It's a space needs
Yes.
analysis and recommendation of a 5, 10, and 20-year master plan for the facilities. So what we need now and how we can grow and what it's going to cost.
First step. Any other questions or discussion? Please vote.
Please vote. If you don't see your second light up there, hit it again. Last chance to vote. Motion carries 22-1.
Just a reminder, Jill, when you see that happening, sometimes she has to tell me to slow down.
That's the first thing I told her yesterday. Remind it to slow down.
Nobody likes to get out of here by noon. Okay, next item is resolution number 27, 2016-2017, banking resolution position update.
This resolution just updates the signatures. Be it further resolved that Waupaca County Treasurer secures investments in excess of the amount covered by the appropriate federal insurance in the state of Wisconsin per 1985 Wisconsin Act 25, with securities of the U.S. Treasury Agency, certificates of deposit drawn on a federal home loan bank or a bank deposit guarantee bond, and that pledged securities or deposit insurance have a cumulative face value totaling a minimum of 110% of the invested amounts over those secured by the appropriate federal insurance
and 1985 Wisconsin Act 25. And be it further resolved that effective January 1st, 2017, the county clerk and county treasurer be authorized to sign all documents and legal county papers and sign all checks. Signatures shown below. Jill Lodewagen and Mark Seppert.
Do we have a motion for approval? Motion by Mr. McClellan for approval, and a second by Mr. Johnson. Do we have some questions or discussion? Please vote.
I really want to make an impression as I go out, so would you please hit your buttons again?
You're established that after 30 years.
Jill, Jill's gonna look really wonderful after I go out. Last chance to vote. 23-0.
Okay, now we're down to reports. First report we have is item A, drug court update. And I believe Kay Thompson is here to update.
Yes, and on the agenda it says Anderson, but her last name really is Thompson. There's an attorney, Kay Anderson, that we host.
It's on her.
Good morning, Kay. It is now, yes. Extensive repair.
So I am Kay Thompson. I work for Theta Care and Community Health Improvement, and one of my duties is to manage 4 of our community health action teams. I do New London, Berlin, Wild Rose, and Waupaca. The lights went out. And the Waupaca Community Health Action Team, we have one member in here, Jesse, but it's a cross-section of Waupaca community leaders. I believe we have 20 in Waupaca. And we worked really hard to get a drug court started. And so I want to thank you very much for the money that you approved. Fred thought it was important that somebody be here this morning, and I'm sorry it can't be him. I can tell you though that I did stop and see him in the hospital the day after his surgery, and he looked great, and he was just as ornery as he always is. So I think he's on the road back to health. So with the money that you approved, we could start in mid-year should we want to. But in order to have a successful drug court, you really need to have the drug court coordinator hired and in place about 3 months prior to that. That drug court coordinator arranges for treatment, starts to develop community relations, sets up the program, writes the policies. And so we needed a little more money. And so I'm here to tell you that the Waupaca Community Health Action Team on the first Friday in December approved $25,000 that will go towards drug court. And we have another $5,000 from a community member, and there's more coming in, probably another $10,000 that I know for sure. So we did seek some funding. It's important to Chat. Chat has access to funding, but it's important that the community show commitment first. So we had to wait for that, for your approval before we could commit that money. So, and I also wanted to tell you that Judge Vicky and myself wrote a grant. There is a grant out there by the Bureau of Justice Assistance and the National Drug Court Institute, where they, if you are selected, they come and train you on best practices for drug court. I was notified a couple weeks ago that Waupaca was selected as one of the 16 drug courts across the nation for that grant. That basically, it's not money given to you per se, but it's huge. It's an 8-month facilitated planning process where they come to you, experts in the field, for a 3-day training program. Our training program is May 31st, June 1st and 2nd. They'll come right to Waupaca, and they pay for all their expenses. It also involves a 3-day training program, or a 3-day training program where the drug court committee is flown somewhere in the United States that has a population about the size of Waupaca County and has a successful drug court already up and long-term running. They pay for all flight expenses, transportation, food, and lodging. So the drug court team is privy to that. Many webinars, many educational activities, and the end product is they will help write the policy and procedure handbook. So when the drug court is ready to roll, you will have every opportunity in the world to make it successful. And there's no reason it shouldn't be. Now there's only 5 counties in Wisconsin that doesn't have a drug court. So that's the reason is they work. And the rate of return comes back to you. The only other thing I wanted to mention is that you know, the people in this community are awesome. I love working here. And from the beginning, I've helped other drug courts get started, like in Barron County. But in Waupaca, we had the right people at the table from the get-go. We had 2 judges, and we had the prosecutor and the DA, and law enforcement, both Brad and Brian. We had probation and parole, and we had community members, and before we needed to put this team together to submit for the grant, we had all the members. I've never seen that before. So I'm very proud of this community, and I thank you. Is it proper to wish Merry Christmas? Yes. And I wanted to really thank Fred and Mary Kay, really helped with this process. Did you have anything you wanted to say, Mary Kay? Dear people, I've come to love them, so thank you so very much to all of you.
Thank you very much. Merry Christmas to you too.
Thank you.
Next on the agenda, we're calling to the podium Mr. Casey Beiersdorf, the Highway Commissioner, for an update on the architect and engineer selection. Sometimes, Pat, we have to back up to go ahead a little bit. So, welcome, Mr. Beiersdorf.
Morning, Mr. Chairman, County Board of Supervisors. Thank you for the opportunity to talk a little bit more about the highway facility. I think it's in the best interest just to kind of talk about where we've been and where we're going forward, because I really haven't done that since I've been here the past 9 months or so. So with that, when I was interviewing for the highway commissioner position, it was part of one of my questions as to how do you feel leading the development and beginnings of the idea that was previously here with Mr. Steingraber in regards to a new highway facility. And I said, sure. And maybe at that point it was I wanted the job, or maybe it's I was actually going to get involved in it. So anyway, here I am 9 months later, sitting before you with a resolution that some of you, even though may have voted yes, still have questions on. What is it about and where are we with this? So after a month or two of working with the highway at the highway department, we were trying to figure out how we move forward with this idea. What is this idea going to cost? Is it something that we don't know much about? So at my highway committee level, we decided that we were going to revisit the new building committee, which had been established prior to me working here. So the new building committee got back on board, which consists of probably, I don't know, five or six of you in the audience, and we needed to know where we were gonna move forward with that. So the new highway, the new building committee essentially said we need to know what we're gonna be talking about and how do we even move forward with that. So we decided that it was time to get an architect on board to let us know what the initial cost is gonna be for the entire project. Now, the entire project consists of 5 phases. Phase 1 is going to be your preliminary design, space needs study. What is this project going to cost? So we can contract with an architectural firm for a lower amount of money, which is this $7,500. And that's kind of, we wanted to get to that point. We didn't know exactly at that point it was going to be $7,500. We just knew that we needed to interview architectural firms to get us on board with that. So we decided that it was time to send out a request for proposals for architects to see what they wanted to, if they're interested in our project, which we don't even know what we 100% want yet until we get their professional design services on board with that. So we had sent out 11. We sent out a packet to 11 different architects within the state of Wisconsin. I think one or two may have even been in Minnesota. 8 of them came back to us and said, this is the services that we can provide. And all it was essentially, I'm just using Bray Architects as an example at this point. 8 of them sent back a packet and said, yes, Waupaca County, we're interested in your project. So here I am with 8 different proposals from architectural firms that I know nothing about. At that point, the special building committee reconvened, got together. We went through all 8 proposals, and it was our intention at that time to narrow it down to less than 8, to bring in for interviews and meet face to face, them give us a presentation, and so forth. With that, we decided to interview 5 different architectural firms on Friday, December 2nd. Without a doubt, all 5 firms that stood up in front of the special building committee could have done the job. We knew that. But some were seemed a little bit more professional, seemed like they could provide the good services, some were maybe not so good. So we got that face-to-face interaction with each architectural firm to let us know what they felt. With that, our intention with that sit-down interview with the architectural firm on that Friday was, do we want to go with just one architectural firm after the decision, or do we want to have a second face-to-face interview? Well, it went around the committee at that time that we felt that Bray Architects had stood out significantly in that interview. We had a voice vote. They took the majority on it, and at that point, Mr. Keppen, the building committee, at that point said, let's just go with Bray Architects and not go with a second sit-down face interview, because we're just drawing the process out and so forth. Well, with that, Bray Architects, I let them know that they were voice voted as to be the #1 candidate for Waupaca County Highway Department. If Mike would like to come up here with me today, I can introduce him. What we're looking to do now is phase 1 is an architectural contract that Waupaca County Highway Department will work out with Bray Architects for $7,500. It'll come out of our highway funds to get us through phase 1. And maybe you would, if you would like to talk a little bit more about what you can provide for phase 1 of your services, that'd be probably a little more fluent than what I can talk about. Thank you.
Thank you again. My name is Michael Hacker. I'm with Bray Architects. Also at the interview was Matt Wolfert. Matt is the president of Bray and will certainly still be a part of this process as well. I think, as noted, phase 1 really is main goal, big picture, is to figure out how much will this facility cost and what are the needs that get built within that. Okay, and so for us, that process really is sitting down, going room by room through the spaces we have today. It's going room by room through the spaces we know we need that maybe we don't have today. It's going through the full inventory of equipment, going through every snowplow that we have, every piece of maintenance equipment that we have with that, and identifying a square footage that go along with that. We would identify then what of that equipment could be reused, like what could we relocate to a new building, and then what do we need to buy new. And really flush out as much as possible at an early phase, really what would the cost of this project be. So with that, you would have a detailed space program that would define what that building looks like. We'll do preliminary analysis of the site just to get our bearings on the current conditions and what we know about utilities, any wetland concerns, things like that. And then with that would be a cost estimate. Okay, and as noted earlier, really this is going to not just look at the need today, but we're going to forecast that out into the future. Okay, and so we'll be working closely with Casey and the team in really identifying the highest priorities today to get into this first project, and then we'll help look forward in multiple intervals into the future what that building looks like, and then how can we strategically plan for that today so that those additions make sense and are as affordable as possible into the future. So, does that help?
It very much helps.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. So we're gonna go with a $7,500 contract that currently I've been working with Bray to ensure that it's, first of all, meeting your approval, and then it makes sense on our behalf. What's next after this? Well, it would be next November, I believe, and probably even prior to that, as I give you monthly updates as far as what our correspondence is, how we're moving forward with it. At some point, there's going to be the decision, do we want to go full-fledged with, now we're going to design and get into a full architectural contract, which is a significant amount of money. The services that they can provide, can I take your word for it? No. So last week Friday, I thought, prior to standing in front of the board here, I got to see some of your projects. So myself, Mr. Fleece, Mr. Jonley took a trip and visited a few projects that Bray had connections to. We were very satisfied with their facilities. Yes, it's not going to be exactly what Waupaca County wants, but we need each phase of this project to fit our needs, not someone else's. So that's where the resolution came forth to get to this point. So we need to start somewhere, because prior to this, we've just been spinning our wheels because I don't know what a facility is going to cost, and I don't think any of us do, and we need help with that. So for a small contract to get us to where we need to make a bigger decision that'll affect the residents of this county, we need these services to start this ball to start rolling. That's all I got.
Very good. Somebody have some quick questions? This is a beginning. Yes, Supervisor Craig.
Thank you. My question is, and the reason I voted no is, as I listen to this, I'm envisioning, do we really know what we need and what we're planning for? And the reason I'm asking that is, when we started on the highway construction and bonding issue, where we bonded for it instead of having it in the budget, there was a period of time where we were in the construction and replacing of the county highways that we had. And so we bonded a higher amount with the promise that eventually, and it was this year or last year, where we were not going to be in the construction business anymore. We were going to be more of a maintenance county. And so far, I haven't heard whether we're actually going to continue to go for a higher bond in the future, or whether we're going to continue the maintenance. And I know that depends a lot on how much equipment we have and how much we have to house. And so that's why I'm concerned of, if we say yes and we build it to this standard, does that mean we're automatically into a construction county with the place to house a lot more equipment than maybe what the county board itself is willing to buy, in the sense that we bond for it every year, and that vote is it a 3/4 vote that we need? And so a group of supervisors can stop that bonding from happening if they're not on board with this. And so that's why I want everybody to know, and I appreciate all the information I've heard now, what is really coming down the line, and what do we want as a county for a building. I understand they can help us, but I sort of thought we have to know what we want first. And I'm hearing they're helping us to determine what we want.
If I may, Mr. Police, correct me if I'm wrong, say a few things here, Pat. Well, I guess it was a little over a year and a half ago that I mentioned that we should have a goal of a new facility sooner or than later. We all took a look last summer at the old facility. It was built in 1936 along the banks of the Waupaca River. It's well outdated. It's well gone over its usefulness. It's so small, you saw that. There's no, for instance, minor things, there's no lunchroom, there's no ladies' bathroom. They can't get the trucks inside with the plows on. It's ridiculously out of, and today's trucks are larger than back in the 30s and 40s. And in fact, it's dangerous. It's along the banks of the Waupaca River. Think about this, fuel oil, gas, oil along the river. Now, when we hired Mr. Beiersdorf, I believe that it was a given that we're going to continue in the construction business. He's a young highway commissioner that came from a construction county, and this is a larger county, and we fully intend to continue that. I thought it was kind of understood, but what's going to happen, Supervisor Craig, is, as I had mentioned meetings ago, I'm going to have Mr. Beiersdorf up here often and keeping everyone abreast. So we do have transparency. Or you can ask Mr. Beyer, you can ask Mr. Police, rather than me. I know generalities, but these guys, these people are into the intestines of it, of the building committee. And this is why we got Mr. Bray up here to help us determine. They're used to building buildings, and Casey and Bob and Bill, they have a lot of ideas what we should have to get this thing back into the 2018s and 2020s rather than the 1936s. So that's a long answer to your question, but do you have anything else to add, Chairman, please?
We're going to be in the construction business for many years. The state is asking us to put more people on. They're going to have a lot more work for us. Yes, we're going to be in it.
Okay. And you heard Coach Fleas there. We're going to win the next game too. This was mentioned at an executive committee meeting, Pat, and maybe you weren't there, and I'm sorry, but it had been discussed on somewhat of a basis. So, you got anything to add, Mr. Beiersdorf?
I would just like to say I'd look for your support here and there throughout this process. I'm going to do my best to provide you the best knowledge you need to make that decision. So with that, the services that my employees, my men and women provide are phenomenal. I think Mr. Federowitz had a comment, are we going to design roads in the future just to design, or are we just going to, or are we going to design them compared to making them safer for our residents? So what services does the county want to provide from here on out? And my 5-year plan at this point shows we're going to design for safety and keeping the infrastructure moving with the construction idea in mind. So to pulverize and repave many of our roads isn't doing justice to the safety of them, in my opinion. So
thank you very much, and thanks for coming today. And thanks for your, oh, Pat's got one more question.
It's more of a comment. Being on the highway committee, I do value the safety of our roads and what we do for it. My no vote was simply because I didn't have the information ahead of time. It's not that I'm not in support of it. I just need to know what the
understood.
Thank you.
Yep.
And we understand that, Supervisor Craig, that's why you're 5-star supervisor. So, anything else?
Nope, have
a lot. Again, as I say, he will be up here often just to let us know what's all happening. Okay, next. I think we'll take a short break first. Yes, I have to take some singing lessons next door. Take a short break and we'll come back in 8.5 minutes or so. Just a second here, Mary's battery went dead. You think it's flying, but it's hers.
There's something going on today. I don't know. It's trying to tell me something. That's it.
Yeah, there you go, Jill.
That's the answer for everything, right, Jim? What are you waiting for?
Retirement won't be this much fun. We ready to go, Mary?
I'm ready.
Okay. And Jesse's at the podium waiting for us to call us back into session, so we are. Continue.
Good morning, Mr. Chair.
Good morning.
Ladies and gentlemen of the board. Thank you very much for having me here today to speak to you about this important topic. As your Veteran Service Officer, it's my duty and moral obligation to be an advocate for the veterans of Waupaca County. And we're honored and blessed to have some 5,000 veterans that call Waupaca County home. This particular presentation today will be talking about the Veteran Housing and Recovery Program and the possibility of co-locating that program out at the Lakeview Manor Complex. Really, this concept is a win-win for both the county and for veterans. Homelessness in the nation and in our state and here in our county is a devastating issue, and some have even called it worse than that. And this gives Waupaca County an opportunity to address that very delicate, sensitive issue. And it also helps us to address and perhaps open up an opportunity to begin talking about the future of the Lakeview Manor Complex. I have a little slide here about the VHRP, the Veteran Housing and Recovery Program, but we're honored to have our friends from the state, Mr. Ken Grant and Kent Falstead, Denise Wendland. And Ken is going to be speaking to us specifically about this program. He's the subject matter expert, the director of this program, and he will be able to provide a lot more detail than I am about this program. So I'll just leave that up for a minute, and then shortly after my presentation, Ken will speak specifically to this program in great detail. In broad strokes, the idea is that veterans, specifically homeless veterans or veterans who are at risk of homelessness, are brought into this program in an attempt to provide them with resources to bring them back to productive citizenship. Like I said, homelessness in the country and in the state is dramatic. In 2015, there was over 6,000 in Wisconsin recorded as homeless overall. And out of a population of just over 400,000, we had about 534 veterans homeless on any given night. The federal VA has a three-pronged approach to addressing veteran homelessness. It involves outreach, it involves connecting veterans with housing, and it allows and facilitates collaboration with stakeholders to expand employment and housing opportunities. I'd like to share with you a short video from the First Lady, Miss Michelle Obama. Hopefully it'll work here. Right? It's one of those days.
As First Lady, I am constantly blown away by the stories of courage and sacrifice that define our veterans and their families. I've met wounded warriors who have lost legs to an IED and then fought through recovery to run marathons. I've met veterans who have run into sniper fire and explosions to save their friends. Whenever our country has called, they've stepped up to serve. So when I hear that even one of our veterans is homeless, I'm not just heartbroken, I'm outraged. And I know that people all across this country feel the exact same way. That's why over the past few years, mayors, community leaders, government agencies, and local nonprofits have come together to get our veterans into housing quickly and permanently. Through the Mayor's Challenge to End Veteran Homelessness, cities like New Orleans, Houston, Mobile, Alabama, and Lancaster County, Pennsylvania, have effectively ended veterans' homelessness. And they've done this by ensuring that veterans not only have immediate access to housing, but also the support they need to stay in their homes for the long term. We all have a role to play in efforts like these, particularly landlords and property owners like all of you. You all have the power to open doors for our vets and give them the stability they deserve and help our country solve an issue that has been swept under the rug for far too long. And this isn't just the patriotic thing to do. It can also be the smart thing to do for your business. Through federal efforts like HUD-VASH vouchers or the Supportive Services for Veteran Families program, you're guaranteed regular rent payments and staff support along the way. Landlords in Seattle, Los Angeles, Atlanta, and elsewhere are seeing that they can do right by our veterans and their bottom lines. So we need your help. Please call your local mayor or housing office or your local VA to find out more about these vouchers and veterans programs, and help us ensure that all of our veterans will have a place to call home. Thanks so much.
So that brings us to how Waupaca County can help to get to functional zero when we're talking about veteran homelessness, and to continue a long-standing program that has helped over 100 veterans in the past 3 years alone to continue to operate within Waupaca County. It's a complex issue. There's a lot of questions that have been raised in committees and subcommittees, and there's been a lot of discussion and a lot of folks going into these discussions with eyes wide open. There are a few things that would have to happen in order to make this possible. We would be asking to relocate the VHRP within the Lakeview Manor complex pending those bullet points that are all very sensitive and would take some extensive work to make happen. But I think that we have the people, I think we have the resources, and I think we have the resolve to make it happen. Ultimately, we would be looking at an initial 3-year lease agreement with the inclusion of those bullet points. Any bottom line figure that would be revenue for this program would have to be negotiated through the contract parameters that are described on the board there. Any questions on this slide while I pause for just a minute?
You might just want to give a short, brief synopsis on why the 9,975 is used.
Certainly. So at this point, the program is currently co-located out at the Wisconsin Veterans Home at King in the OV Hall. The OV Hall and the Burns Clemens Hall are set to be demolished no later than June of 2017, and the new facility will begin being built there. That facility will be part of the skilled nursing facility and it won't increase their bed count, but it'll allow for some movement of veterans out there so that they can continue to address their infrastructure out there and continue to build and fix and maintain their campus. That being the case out there, the program has to move out of OV Hall no later than June of 2017. Being that we have been in this process for some time, and we've been looking diligently for other locations to house the program, which requires some certain safety and code, fire suppression systems, code requirements for housing a program such as this. It's been very difficult to find a suitable location within Waupaca County and for the state in their RFP process, request for proposals. That being the case, we're running out of time in order to make a move happen and retain this very important program within Waupaca County. That being the case, it's important to remain under the $10,000 square foot limit, so that we can meet that timeline. Anything over the 10,000 square feet would require some extensive additional planning and additional approvals and proposals and things of that nature, which would significantly lengthen this program out. However, since any lease agreement would be based on that sub 10,000 square feet, there is some room in the contract to recoup some of those square footage deficit through snow removal and mowing and the contracted meal service. The number has been thrown out, $15 to $16 per square foot. That's a low number. Any negotiations would want to obviously take a look at what the market average is and make a reasonable offer back to the state to make it worth the appropriate market value. In addition to that, the total square footage doesn't, it's approximate, it's under 15,000 square feet, so we'd be talking about a difference of 3,000 to 4,000, maybe 5,000 square feet total that we would be looking at, in effect, donating to the program, potentially. Does that kind of answer? Okay. Any questions on that piece of it? Okay. So again, this is a square footage breakout, living quarters for C and D wings of Lakeview Manor. Again, those living quarters are under the 10,000 square foot cap. The additional program areas would be basically this larger room here and this larger room here, and of course empty spaces in the hallways, which wouldn't necessarily be, they'd be used, but they wouldn't be part of the living quarters. A program such as this focuses on several things, such as employment skills, finding jobs, maintaining jobs, therapeutic daily living tasks, counseling, and things of this nature. So it does require some program space. Program space would most likely take place in here. There is some room for some offices, some laundry facilities, and a dining facility here in 152. As you can see, these green lines right here, these are hallways, and these green lines terminate and they designate 2-hour firewall and doors, effectively sealing and separating regulatorily these two entities within the Lakeview Manor complex. Any questions on the schematics or what we're looking at here? Okay. So the second point of what we'd be looking at addressing here is the Lakeview Manor complex. As you well know, it's a total occupancy, a total census of 50 when it's completely full. In 2016, the average census was 28. We've had one wing completely empty, my understanding, for the majority of the year. And of course, C and D wings, which we'd be considering for co-locating this program into, currently house 15 residents, and according to code and law, we would have to, those residents would have to agree to voluntarily move within the facility. We'd want to be very sensitive to that, and that would have to be approached with that in mind. Just some statistics. You know, early in the presentation, we talked about the diminishing business profile out at Lakeview Manor. These three graphs are taken from the Waupaca County Comprehensive Annual Financial Reports found on the county website, and they detail average annual census, diminishing revenue, and an ever-increasing annual net deficit position for the past several years. So this kind of brings us to the conclusion of my portion of the presentation. Mr. Grant will come up shortly and speak specifically to his program and potentially answer any questions that you have about that. Are there any questions for me regarding the...
Supervisor Murphy?
Jesse, I was not familiar until you mentioned it that O.V. Hall and the campus of the Veterans Home out there currently is housing homeless veterans. Now I realize that there's a master plan for not reconstruction, but construction of new building, and that it seems to me that the Veterans State Veterans Association should be looking at continuing that program in one form or another in their plans for going forward with another building. Is there any talk of that?
Mr. Chair, Mr. Supervisor, thank you. It's a good question. It's a question that has been raised in the past regarding, if it's already co-located out there and there's new building to be done, why isn't space made available and it just remain on campus? I think it's a good question. Perhaps Mr. Grant could answer that for us, and I think it's going to have something to do with the building plans and how those proposals went and things of that nature. Any other questions on
Supervisor Boyd?
How many people do you foresee that would be going into Lakeview?
Mr. Chair, Madam Supervisor, absolutely, it's a good question. The program houses 26 male adult non-sex offender, non-violent veterans at its capacity. Mr. Grant will speak to its current census and potential projected census. That cap number wouldn't go up. We'd be looking at 26 individual or single occupancy rooms for this program. But the potential for that building out there is immense. If a skilled nursing program weren't in the remainder of the building, there's potential for some transitional housing, potential for a wing for female veterans, potential for housing other programs out there through the SSVF, Supportive Services for Veteran Families, or potentially another federal VA program. There is some growth potential out there for a veteran-style complex. So. Okay, thank you very much. Mr. Chair, if you don't mind, I'll set up the presentation for Mr. Grant, and I do have a few words to introduce him, if that's all right?
Yes, please do.
Okay. At this time, I'd like to welcome Mr. Ken Grant to the podium. Ken serves as Division Administrator of the Division of Veteran Services in the Executive Leadership Team for the Wisconsin Department of Veterans Affairs. He oversees the division's services, which include the Milwaukee Claims Office, State Approving Agency, Outreach Section, and the Veterans Homeless Program. Ken previously was Division Administrator for the WDVA Division of Administration. Previous state service for Ken included 3 years employed with the Department of Workforce Development as the Program Director for the Veterans Employment Program, also known as the DBOC Leaver Program, and 8 years with the WDVA as Bureau Director in the program areas of Veterans Cemeteries, Military Funeral Honors, and Veterans Homeless. Ken is a retired Army veteran who enlisted as a private and retired as a lieutenant colonel with 25 years of military service. His service includes serving as a helicopter crew chief on Huey helicopters, various infantry, ordnance, recruiting, and personnel leadership assignments, both in Europe and while serving with the Wisconsin Army National Guard. He is a graduate of the U.S. Army Command and General Staff College and numerous other military management and leadership schools. Mr. Grant, thank you so much for coming.
Grant.
Good morning, Mr. Chair and all you five-star supervisors. So it's an honor to be here today, and it's always nice to get out of Madison and head north to God's country. So I really appreciate that. And Jesse, that was a kind introduction, and thank you. Thank you for allowing myself to be here today to talk about the Veterans Housing and Recovery Program and possibly create a partnership with the county here with consideration of the Lakeview complex. All right, let's see here. Okay. What I want to do is just give you a broad overview of the program and then also get into some of the specifics and then answer any of your questions that you would have of me. First of all, the Grant and Per Diem program actually started in 1994. There's currently a little over 400 programs nationally. In Wisconsin, we have 10 programs. And when this program started, there were no other type of programs for homeless veterans. Now we have the HUD-VASH, which Mrs. Obama mentioned, along with the SSVF program. And then you have the Grant and Per Diem program. This all started because of Secretary Bowman. Many years ago, he was the Secretary for Veterans Affairs. And the first Grant Per Diem program was created in the nation was at King. And that was in 1994. And we were very honored to have the first one in the nation. Then we had the second one on at Fort McCoy. And we currently have 3 programs. As you see, you all have packets in front of you. We have the program at King. Farther north, we have a program at Chippewa Falls. That's a 30-bed program. And then way down in the south in Racine County, we have a 30-bed program. We're very proud of our programs. We assist a lot of veterans in this transition to housing. They can stay up to 2 years in our facilities. They come from all aspects of life. Once they come into the facility, we have case managers that work with them individually, and then we will put them back in place. It's kind of like a jigsaw puzzle. You start at the ends and you work together, and once you get it all together, hopefully we can then help these veterans get out into the community, employment, whatever their needs are. That's what we try to do. And we've been very successful at all of our programs, and I'll show you a few slides that will talk about that. There currently are about 1,700 homeless veterans in Wisconsin. We don't know how many couch surf, especially in the north where there's no shelters. The farther north you go, the more challenging it is. So, but nationally or on a state using the systems that we have, about 1,700. The VA says there's about 497, but we have a great system in Wisconsin where all the nonprofits and everybody works together, and we're showing about 1,700, which is 1,700 too many. With this program, you'll see on the map here, our program at King, here, Chippewa Falls, and then down here. You all have heard lately about the program in Tolma. That looks like that's closing. With that, that's going to leave quite a void. It's like a 60-bed program. So the need for the homeless programs are very, very important, especially in the north. Chippewa Falls is a 30-bed program, and over here at King. Now you'll also have a 3-bed program over here in Green Bay, very small program. But otherwise, after that, everything is solved. So there is a definite need for the homeless population of veterans, and it keeps changing. We have transit veterans that come from all over. They leave in the winter, they go to San Diego, and they come back in the summer. So that's just, or in the fall and whatever. So one of the things nationally that's happening, effective in 2018, we now have to compete for the grants. This is a grant-funded program. We since 1994 through 2017, we've never had to compete for the grants. It's been automatic. But because of veterans, homelessness is declining somewhat, and that's because of HUD-VASH and SSVF. We are now going to have to start competing. So all the 400 vendors across the country will have to compete for these grants starting in 2018. And will be for a 3-year period. Thus the reason we're looking at it initially a 3-year lease. But again, our program's been there since 1994. It's well needed in the north. We can justify it. The successes are all there. And so we don't see that as an obstacle going forward as far as competing. We're not sure of the TOMA program. We've heard that they may compete, they may not. Some of the smaller programs may not compete because of the paperwork. It's a lot of paperwork to submit for grants and so forth, especially with the federal government. All right. All right, hang on. I'm really messing it up now. All right. You know, you either hate it or you love technology. So it works great. Everyone loves it. But all right. Oh, we gotta go back one. I'm too far. I think I can get it from. Okay, I want to just a few slides on the program. As mentioned earlier, we have a 26-bed program here, 30-bed program in Union Grove, a 30-bed program in Chippewa Falls. The variety of ages, 24 to 70 right now. So we have a different, various types of male veterans in our programs. We're seeing a lot more Iraqi vets now than we did. Not too many World War II, not any in World War II. So now we're looking at Vietnam vets and so forth. They come from all walks of life. Some go through divorces, some are just lost. And like I say, we're like the jigsaw. We'll put it back together for them, and we'll give them everything they need. So as they stay in the facility, we provide case management, employment, they go to school, whatever their needs are, and we get them to, most of them stay anywhere from eight months to a year. And then they graduate, and there's quite a few of them that graduate from facility, and they now work at our veterans home, or they work in the local community. So that's what it's all about. The oversight of our program, every one of our programs is overseen by the veterans facilities. For instance, the program in Minneapolis, in Chippewa Falls, is overseen by the Minneapolis VA. This program is overseen by the Madison VA. Our other program, Union Grove, is overseen by the Milwaukee VA. So, and we have 5 different VAs in Wisconsin, and you would hope they all work together the same, but sometimes it gets very challenging. So we have a liaison that comes up here. The liaison approves everyone that comes into our program, the VA liaison, and everyone that leaves. So there's quite a bit of oversight. In addition, we have 3 quarterly reviews that we look over at the program goals, and we have an annual inspection where they'll bring in a team of 5 to 6 VA employees to look at our food service, our facilities, and the whole process. In addition, at central office, the program manager, as Jesse mentioned, is Kent Falstad. He's in the back. Kent works for us, and he comes up monthly, meets with all the vets. He talks to our vendor, which we contract our program out through the Veterans Assistance Foundation out of Toma. And Denise Trempe is here also. She's the program director, and she works with Kent, and they provide the necessary oversight for our program. As far as our operational vendor, as I mentioned, is the Veterans Assistance Foundation. Denise and her staff have been there many years. Denise has 10 plus years, 4 years as the director. The case managers, you can see 7 years, 3 years. We also have security staff. So when they go home at night, we have somebody that's there to provide 24/7 care in case of any emergencies or any issues. Denise and her staff are on call normally in case of any issues. What's very unique of this program, as far as I know, it's the only program that has federal VA employees. And it probably goes back to when the program started in 1994. There was an agreement with Secretary Bowen and the VA to make sure this program would work as it was being the first in the country. So we're lucky to have Dennis Borski there. He's been there since inception, and he'll probably be there forever. He's a great guy that really interacts with the guys, a social worker, and then we also have Farah, who's an administrative assistant, and she's been there now 10 plus years. So we're really fortunate to have a solid staff to really help the veterans. try this again here.
Jesse didn't have any problem.
Jesse did. Okay. There's always a question of, you know, what about the veterans and do they cause problems and that sort of thing. Jesse, if you could help me on the next, that'd be great. So what I did is showed you the serious incident reports that we've had over the last 3 years for each of our programs. You see there's not that many. 2016, as of right now, we've only had one. In 2015 and 14, again, all our programs are very similar. We don't have a lot of problems with the vets. Now and then we do have a law enforcement issue, but it could be an argument. In one case, it was attempted suicide, that sort of thing. But for considering we go through 100 veterans and so forth, very few problems that we have at the facility. And I wanted to point that out in case you do recommend that we do co-locate. You can see there's very few problems here, and we've never had a real serious issue out there. As far as the veterans that come into the program, you can see by sight the numbers that come in. It's pretty consistent every year, 115, 120 for our 3 programs. And you can see the graduates, number of graduates, and those that leave the program, most of them are voluntarily. Some of the times we do have program violations, as we do drug test our vets periodically, just to ensure that they're following the program rules and so forth. And if they do come up hot, years ago we used to kick them out. Now we get them into other treatment. We try to really not put them back on the street, and then they've got no one to help. So there's a lot of treatment centers and so forth. We can put them in for any type of drug problems or alcohol problems or anything like that. Now I want to show you a program we currently have up in Chippewa Falls. And this is kind of, I would say this is our newest facility. We created the program in 2007. It's on the northern campus. We took an old building, we renovated it, and we made it a home. What we try to do with these veterans is this is their home. We expect them to take care of it. They come in there, they're responsible for all the cleaning chores. They're responsible to attend all the meetings. Many of them haven't been at home a long time. So we do the necessary training and teach them how to be sufficient and how to clean themselves and all that, whatever it takes to get them back on the right track. As I mentioned, this is our program in Chippewa Falls, and I'll quickly go through some of the slides. The veterans take care of the lawns here. They're very big about being busy. And some of them will never work again. Some will. Those that don't work, a lot of them volunteer as drivers, and they'll go out and do things in the lawns, gardens, whatever it takes. Next slide. This is a memorial, and I think the veterans made the planners, and we get a lot of donations and so forth from the local community. I think we have a garden club that comes up there and donates their time and so forth. Next slide. In this particular facility, we have our own kitchen facility. Most of our facilities, we do our own cooking and so forth, but if we went into an agreement because of the complex of the facility and stuff, we would contract with your kitchen staff to provide the meals for the veterans. We also provide computer room. We have a library. Next slide. So we keep the veterans active. It's up to us to provide activities for them, that sort of thing. Next slide. Fitness center, those that like to still work out. A central area where we normally will have meetings and watch a Packard football game, the Badgers and so forth. Obviously they do their own washing, laundry. That's something we would have to add on in the facility if we were to go with a lease. Next slide. Keep going. These are some of the pods up there. It's a pod area. This is a central living facility. The rooms are off in each side, a little bit different than what we would see at Lakeview. The bedroom's normally a 2-person room. And they have courtyards, and they have little gardens, and we just providing them grills, new furniture through a donation program. They can come and go as they want. They have to sign in and out. And here's the current staff, the site director, and a couple of the case managers, administrative assistant. And we're very proud of our facilities. The veterans are always proud of their service. And it's many of them, because they're in an environment where there's other veterans, it makes them successful. And we have our other 2 locations. Once they graduate, we have what we call SROs, single room occupancy, where they can rent rooms up to $300 a month and stay connected to the program. We have some of them. We have 10 rooms up in Chippewa Falls, 8 down in Union Grove, and some of them have been there 3-4 years because they feel they have to be part of that program, and that keeps them in line. Next slide. Keep going. These are just information. It's all in your packet. And at this time, I will entertain some questions. What I'd like to do is just address the one gentleman's question about out at King. We've been there since 1994. We're in the old hospital building, historic. It's on the historic landmark. It's been there for years. It's being taken down because we're building a new John Moses skilled nursing facility, which we're really excited about, finally getting some new infrastructure at King. And the goal is to build this 200-bed facility, I don't think, $60–80 million, state-of-the-art, overlooking the lake. And to do that, we have to take care of, or take down the OV building along with the Burns Clements. There are no other buildings to put this program. And for us to build a new building is normally a 10-year process in the state government. Probably a lot longer than the county. Okay, I don't think that long in the county. But, so, we've been trying to find a new site. And again, Jesse mentioned it's very difficult because of the code requirements and so forth, plus to a place that can provide all the amenities and everything else we need. We went through a RFP process, request for proposals. We had a vendor in Green Bay to build us a new facility, but that cost was too expensive. We turned it down. The other vendor that was interested didn't meet the necessary qualifications. So we're down to the 9th inning, as we must vacate the program by no later in June. We have 2 options on the table right now. We have an option in Appleton where they would build us a small complex similar to a CBRF. And the other option is here in Waupaca County with what you currently have with the 2 wings. As Jesse mentioned, this program would work very good for us. It would keep it in Waupaca County. There's a lot of advantages of being out in Waupaca, kind of out by itself. A lot of times the veterans need to get away from the inner cities and so forth to really address their individual needs. And there would be minor, if we were able to put a lease together, there would be minor construction costs that we would provide the necessary reimbursement to the county, where we would have to build the wall. Both of the tub rooms, we would add 3 showers, and we would have to add a laundry room. So when working with Jesse and the committee, we're looking at a 3-year lease initially, if possible, followed by additional 3-year leases, if that's agreeable. The timeline is very critical. If this doesn't work, then I'm moving on to option number 2. So I'm hoping today, if possible, to be able to leave and the board here to make a recommendation to allow the committee to proceed. If not, I totally understand that too, because that's a big decision on your part. So at this time, I'm open to any questions.
Just excuse me, Ken. Just to remind us here today, this is really information only today. It's not an action item today, but you're sure free to ask questions right now. Mr. Penny.
Is there any possibility that your organization might
Mike.
Is there any possibility that your organization might be interested in purchasing our facility? It would save a lot of your problems and a few of ours.
Well, sir, you know, it would be a great complex to have all veteran stuff out there. However, we have to go through a process to purchase any buildings. There's a state building commission has to approve it and that sort of thing. And we're not prepared at this time to consider purchasing. Is it a possibility down the road? That's an option. You know, if we could put more programs out there you know, and get grants and stuff like that, it would be a great opportunity, like Jesse mentioned, to do something. But I can't stand up here now and say that we would welcome purchasing. That could be put into the lease, and we would look at that going down the road.
Other questions? Supervisor Craig.
Not knowing the program, is there any interaction between the people at Lakeview that are there now and your group, or are they sealed off? You had made the statement they come and go. So is that from a separate entrance, or do they interact with our people?
We would not have the interaction unless that's something that the home leadership would want us to do, like, you know, maybe there is Veterans Day or something, you have some veterans, or maybe you want us to do, some of the veterans would volunteer their time, but that would be something that would be agreed upon. Otherwise, we would not go over to the other side because of that wall that would be built. It would be secured and only used in case of emergency. Otherwise, we would go through a separate entrance. Right. Jesse showed you the chart. The D wing and the C wing. Our entrance would be the D wing.
Thank you.
Supervisor Federwitz.
Just a couple comments. I think the discussion that's surfaced during the last week or so had to do with the possibility, like Supervisor Penny said, maybe the possibility the state would buy or purchase this. To what extent do you think your authority or at your level, something could be done that the lease would not go on maybe for 3 years, maybe only a year and a half, with the option to purchase to show more good faith? That might be an option, because it appears that unless we get up into a rentable square footage space cost to you, revenue to us of substantially higher than $16, it's still not an economical feasible for us to sustain.
As far as the square footage cost that Jesse mentioned, that is nothing that came from us. The way this would work is you would, if you wanted to move forward, you would put your proposal together and work directly with Department of Administration, Mr. Scott Berger, and then he would negotiate with the county as far as the lease costs. I mean, I can't, as far as buying the building, could we get into the, you know, if we went forward and there was a 3-year lease and there were other opportunities, that could all be open for discussion. You know, maybe at one point we may want to lease more, then we would look at that, but I can't stand up here and promise that's something we can do. It's just, it's an option, I think. We always want to bring more veterans programs. A lot of times we don't have the facilities to do it. You know, there is a need for women veterans, housing for homeless female veterans. The only place right now is Milwaukee, and with the Center for Veterans Issues. Otherwise, that's a very big challenge out there. Like there is also a challenge for providing housing for veterans and their families. I don't know if that answers your question, sir. If I missed something, I'll be more keep. Okay.
Supervisor Boyer.
If we cannot take action on this today, how long will you give us before you turn to Appleton?
Well, I'm going to have to move forward. You know, if there's any, I know you won't take action today. I understand that. I'm not sure how long, when you will meet again, and if that becomes an issue. But I need to really be looking at the first of the year, and I'm moving forward with one of the options on the table right now.
I have a question for Vice Chair Barrington, who's chairman of that committee. Refresh my memory now. If this program were to be out at Lakeview Manor, how many number of beds would that cut our healthcare center down to?
We'd look at keeping 30 beds, turning 20 beds back into the state. That would save us $175 a month per bed. But we would keep 30.
Okay, thank you. Other questions? Any other questions? Last chance. Okay, thank you very much, sir.
Thank you, and have a Merry Christmas to each of you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Jesse, where's the control thing?
Right there.
No, the thing for the board.
Oh.
There we go.
Something else?
Yeah, the thing to shut that off. But the,
On the shelf there?
Excuse me. Just a couple of things in my report here. Interesting to say that Wisconsin County Mutual Insurance, which I am a board member of and on their claims committee, sent a check for a liability dividend to Waupaca County of $20,982 to put in their coffers. So that's the benefit we have belonging to the county mutual program, and it is our insurance company. The counties pretty much say they pretty much own this company, and I just wanted to point that out, that we got a nice check in the mail. However, as I think Heidi said or Mary said, our liability costs have gone up, and I am going to call and find out why, what the reason is, and is it only our county or all counties? It was kind of substantial. I did miss the December meeting in Wisconsin Dells, only because we had a special meeting here of a committee that I belong to, and I thought this is more important than being down in Wisconsin Dells. The other thing is, excuse me, the other thing is that just a couple of comments, reading Moody's Investors Service, just a couple of statements. They put out a issue or comment page on a regular basis, and on a credit overview they list Waupaca County as a very high quality credit position. For debt and pensions, they list Waupaca County as a light debt burden. Say that again, Waupaca County has a light debt burden. Many times I get some constituents asking me in a post office or at a coffee clutch, is that all you guys do is bore over there? And girls too. And I says, no, it's not. We bond for very important projects, but overall our borrowing ratio is quite low. And so that was a very nice statement. I'm carrying this with me. And in the management and governance of Waupaca County, it has a positive operating margin and exhibits strong financial management. So there it comes from so-called experts that are taking a flyby look at us, but it was really nice to hear and read. So with that being said, it comes the most important part of the afternoon, maybe one of the most important parts. We have commendations here to some very special people that have been here for quite some time. I'd like to call Clyde Tellock up here, please. Morning, Clyde. Clyde, we really appreciate your many, many years of service here for Waupaca County. This is a citation I almost had one this morning when I stopped at the gas station up here to get my Sentinel and pulls a squad behind me, unmarked squad. Oh, did you know I was following you? I said, you got here in a hurry, didn't you? Anyhow, this citation by the Waupaca County Board of Supervisors, this is a certificate of appreciation and is awarded to Clyde Tellock in recognition of his valuable contributions to Waupaca County citizens, serving as a real estate lister from 1992 until his appointment in June of 2005 and subsequent elections as a Waupaca County treasurer. For his commitment to the County Board of Supervisors, department heads, local clerks and treasurers, and all employees, residents, and guests of Waupaca County. Waupaca County Board of Supervisors do hereby commend Clyde Tellock for his commitment to the county, his exceptional services and professionalism, and wish him continued success in the future. Congratulations, Clyde. We're going to miss you, buddy.
Thank you. I wasn't going to have to give any speech, but thank you very much, and it's been a pleasure to work with all of you too. I don't have any specific plans, but I'm sure I'll think of something. Thank you.
Thank you, Clyde. Is Mr. John Snyder here?
He had court today, so he couldn't be here.
Okay. I will read the citation by the Waupaca County Board of Supervisors to Mr. Snyder. The certificate of appreciation is awarded to John P. Snyder in recognition of his valuable contributions to Waupaca County citizens, serving first as Assistant District Attorney from 1983 and then since his election in 1986 as Waupaca County District Attorney, and for his commitment to the Waupaca County Board of Supervisors, department heads, all employees, residents, and guests of the county. Waupaca County Board of Supervisors do hereby commend John P. Snyder for his services, professionalism, and wish him continued success in his new journey. So we wish John well. Now, this is a tough one for me, for all of us, I'm sure, because we worked so closely with this person all these years. And it just, as we know, it just wasn't a few years either. It might have been some decades. Mary, would you like to come forth here so we can introduce you? That's the way she is. I have to tell you about Mary. She is the icon of Waupaca County government. She really is. Being the chair, I work very closely with her. We communicate in a daily fashion, whether it be phone calls, emails, or something I really screwed up bad about. I find out in a hurry. I remember I was on a radio program in Shauna, which I'll be on tomorrow again, and I got back here in the afternoon and said, "What did you say on that radio station? We had a call and we're going to get sued." What would I? Well, somebody called and said, "I think I'm going to sue because he made a comment about the highway department because somebody got sick plowing snow at midnight and maybe we need to get some younger people." Oops. That was a no-no, Diane. So I got his number and apologized. I really didn't mean it that way. So he was okay. We didn't get sued. But sometimes Mary gives me some bad news. And this lady has my schedule on her computer, and she puts stuff in my schedule so I can see it on my phone on a regular basis and knows where I am and what I'm doing pretty much. Nancy doesn't even know my schedule. In fact, she says if I have a question, I have to call Mary and find out where you are. But she took care of that because she put a tracking device on my phone, and now she can see right where I am at all times. So,
Nancy did, not me.
No. Yeah, but you seem to know anyway. But, Mary, you made this courthouse a fun place to come to, and you all know that. I've been in many courthouses since I've been a member of the WCA hierarchy at one time, and some seem like morgues when you go into them, cold. Here you come in, you can Mary's laugh down the hall, and her smile.
I've heard about my laugh.
Yeah.
It's a little loud.
And sometimes it's a fake smile, but it's a smile. But she made this courthouse a pleasant place to be. I know, Jill, you're gonna do fantastic, but you really have some big shoes to fill. Well, maybe you're only 6, I don't know, but we're gonna miss you. And I got a feeling someday you're gonna be back here.
Could happen.
I think she might go do some volunteering, and who knows, she may be sitting in one of these chairs. Who knows? We'll fix that, will we? So,
So it could be the broken one.
yeah, holy crap.
That's my day today.
I'm sorry I dropped it before. One quick thing, I gave an award to one of my employees at a party, and I had a box of glass, I packaged it all up, and when you drop it, it sounded terrible. So I brought her up, and I said to Sandy, for all these years, I have to work, bang, it crashed. Oh my God. Well, that's okay, I'll put it together. So you're gonna have to put this together, Barry.
I guess so.
Citation by the Waupaca County Board of Supervisors. This certificate of appreciation is awarded to Mary A. Robbins in recognition of her valuable contributions to Waupaca County citizens, serving first as a zoning administration as a deputy zoning administrator for 17 years, and then being elected to the position of Waupaca County clerk beginning in 1989 until her term ends January 2nd, 2017. Waupaca County thanks her for her commitment to the County Board of Supervisors, department heads, and all employees and residents of the county. Waupaca County Board of Supervisors do hereby commend Waupaca County Clerk Mary A. Robbins for her exceptional services, professionalism, and her continued success and happiness in her retirement. Mary, we're going to miss you dearly.
Thanks.
Mike, it's now yours.
I think I kind of said my piece at my party, but thank you so much. Oh, please sit down. Thank you, all of you. I've been through a lot of supervisors, and I think it's always been a great pleasure to serve as a mentor or person who can find resources for you when we can't find them. I have a wonderful staff, and I would be remiss if I didn't mention Steve and Sandy, who have been great throughout the years. They help make me look good. So I appreciate all the thoughtfulness from everybody and the department heads. I want to thank all of you too. I was hoping I could get through this, but I've made some many friends, and I've loved it all. Thank you very much.
Okay, as long as I'm up here, I'll stay up here. And can't find what I was looking for here. Right back. If you're wondering why I'm limping worse than I usually do, I was coming out of the post office Saturday at Clintonville. I was on a sidewalk, and down I went. The mail went one way, and I went another way, and with the condition I have, I can't get up. So there was nobody going to the post office either that day because it was so bad. I heard cars going past while I'm laying there, cars going past. I thought, well, I'm going to go on my hands and fours up to that pole over there and see if I can get up. I'm crawling on my hands and fours. Dwayne Frederick's come out of the post office. He says, how you doing? He leaves. He really did, but he wasn't there at that time. So I couldn't believe it. No one's helping me up. I know I was the mayor one time, made a tough decision of getting rid of the garbage pickup and all that type of stuff. But finally, a young police officer saw me and he came up. Sir, I'll call the ambulance right away. No, yes. You're on down. I said, no, I'm on my hands and knees. Please pick me up and the mail up, and I don't care what order you do it in, but help me. So he did. I said, help me to the car, carried my mail. He said, I still think you should call an ambulance. I said, no, I'm fine. But that was really embarrassing. And then a friend of mine said, I saw you. I thought you were waving at me when you went past. Yeah, for Campbell. So, at any rate, on October 25th, 2016, excuse me, I received a letter. Dear Chair Keppen, I'd like to formally express my interest in the role of Administrator Coordinator for Waupaca County. Over nearly 20 years, I've been with Waupaca County and dedicated myself providing the best support to our employees, department managers, as well as the county board. I am ready for the opportunity to contribute to an additional capacity. In the past 16 years as Human Resources Director, I have worked closely with you and our current Administrative Coordinator on many issues and have enjoyed those opportunities immensely, even though some of them weren't too pleasant. And Mary and I and Mandy know that. But we worked as a team, and a team that got things done before we had to go any further and take it any further to get solved. These would be the three goals I would have for myself in the role of Administrator Coordinator. I'd like to strengthen our communication with the full boards so they more fully understand our challenges and opportunities. I'd like to maintain regular and close communication with the county board chair and issues. I'd like to coordinate and continue development of our department head management team. And that's basically what she had to say. And we talked. I asked her a lot of questions when I interviewed her. And there's no doubt in my mind that Mandy will carry on the administrative coordinator duties that Mary did so great all these years. It's a job that very few people realize, realize how many things have to get done in an orderly fashion. It's a tough job, but no one knows it. I happen to know it because I'm the one that makes the job tough once in a while. And maybe some of the rest of us do, but that's the nature of the job. And my dealings with Mandy Welch over the years has been outstanding. 99% of the time. No, we disagreed a few times, but that's what it's all about. And she, like Mary, is a very pleasant person and a personality to be around and gets things done. So with that being said, I'm going to ask for us to appoint Amanda Welch as the new administrator coordinator, replacing Mary Robbins. And you heard the reasons that the WC mentioned before, and why we tend to go not to an elected official. So, with that being said, I'd like someone to make a motion to accept. Mr. Newman made a motion to accept, and Pat Craig made a motion, second the motion. Are there any questions or comments? You sure? Please vote. Can you press my buttons, Mary?
We heard him.
Ms. Welch?
Last chance to vote. Am I missing somebody?
Jack had to leave.
Oh, he had to leave, that's right. 22-0, carried.
Very good. Congratulations, Mandy. Will you come forth and give us a speech here? Congratulations.
I didn't prepare.
You going to be up here?
No, I just want to thank everybody for your support, and just like Dick said, you know, my comments as far as moving forward and helping take over where Mary did until you decide what the next step is. So, thank you.
Thank you, Mandy.
Thank you.
Okay, item B, we're going to skip. Is that right?
Yeah, Lakeview's handling it.
Okay. Okay, item C, policy and iPad usage at home and at board meetings assigned to the IT committee.
I just want the county board chair to announce that you're gonna assign the IT committee to come up with some policies and some procedures for them.
In fact, I'm gonna let you read, Mary, because I can't anymore.
Okay. Okay, so that really doesn't require any action, it's just that, county board chair will have the IT committee review and, policies for the iPad usage for at home and at board meetings. The ATC committee, we need to, re-bring that committee back up, that's the American Transmission Commission, I believe, and they have grants out there available for, parks and rec usage and land and water. So, and Roger was on that, so we need to appoint John Francis. And then the other members, just to refresh your memory, would be Dick Keppen, Dwayne Fedwitz, Gene Sorensen, Heidi Dombrowski, and Brian Haas. So we need a motion to approve that appointment.
Motion by Mr. McClone and a second by Mr. Hendrick. Questions? Please vote.
Last chance to vote. Something else? Oh. 21-0, carried. Another appointment is the Outagamie Waupaca Library Board System. They need a citizen member, and it would be Michelle Frola from Iola. 3-year term.
Motion by Supervisor Craig for approval, second by Mr. Dyke. Questions regarding an appointment? Please vote.
Last chance to vote. Motion carries 21-0. An appointment on the Local Emergency Planning Commission. It would be Jill Lodewagen to replace Mary Robbins.
Motion by Mr. Johnson, second by Mr. Fleece for approval. Any questions? Please vote.
Last chance to vote. Motion carries 21-0. And for 2017, rotation of newspapers, it will be the New London Press Star. That's just an announcement, no action.
And other announcements and correspondence?
Okay, under office box protected case, Joe McClone brought up a fact of how easy your little iPads could be dropped and possibly shatter the screen. But I know how careful you guys are. So we have a choice. There's an OtterBox that protects your iPad, and it comes off like this, and it has a stand so that you can take it off and put your iPad whatever way you want to. It will protect it against all kinds of faults. However, we did find out, and it's $44 and some cents a piece. And IT does have it in their budget. However, there's also a 3-year warranty on the one that you have. So against any breaks, and I think I put that in your packet, 3-year accidental damage protection, drops from cracked screens to broken internal parts, antenna if your device can't get a signal where others on the same network can. There might be a problem with the antenna, they cover that. Charging port failure, all mechanical and electrical failure, so on, touchscreen failure. So you have a choice of whether you want us to go ahead and purchase all of these OtterBoxes or if you want to keep what you currently have.
And who should they notify?
Bob has a question.
Oh, I'm sorry, Bob?
Why don't you leave it up to the individual users?
Losers? Okay, Bob, I can do that as well. I think Brent, and so if you would contact IT, Brent, contact you? Yeah.
if you would like to have them purchase it. You have it in your budget for this year, but what about next year? I mean, how does that
No,
work?
it's only for this year, so they have
So-
to let us know soon.
Yeah, because I know,
2016.
yeah, so before the end of the year, and actually, I know finance department wanted all purchases in by now, but, so if you want them to order one, let Brent know, even if you can, before today, or otherwise you can still use your other one. And I think there might need to be some more training on some of the iPads too, Brent, in the future. I didn't want to push this at you. My successor is more tech savvy than I am, so she'll be able to help you with that as well. Right, Joe?
You just set me up.
And Mr. Fleece, I resemble that remark. I've had my Wisconsin County's iPad now for over 6 years. I've dropped it a number of times and nothing's ever happened. That's just me, and I fall a lot.
So you do have that option. The other announcements, of course, are on here, but I do want to make this announcement too for Jill's sake too, because this is very important. We have a scheduled donut thing that's reimbursed. So for January, it's Supervisor Wayne Wilfer is responsible to buy the donuts. Jill will pick them up. He brings money. It's usually $28.50, Wayne, just so you know that. And then in February, it's going to be Gary Barrington when he gets back from his vacation. So I got those 2 months set up for you, Jill. You don't have to. And again, I want to thank everybody for all the support that you've given me over the years. You've made this job easy, and it's been fun, and it has been exciting. I know you've got a lot of hard decisions and stuff to make in your near future. That's not the only reason I'm going, but it's part. And I know that Jill will treat you well, and that you'll be happy with how things go in the future. Thank you again.
Mr. Chrisman, did you want to sing?
I was just wanting a clarification. Now, I saw where you mailed out the packets for this meeting. What's the general?
I think we're going to, at least for a couple more months, continue to do both mail out and send them on the iPad, just so we can get a feel of who's getting them and who's not.
We had a conversation about myself.
Yeah.
I don't need 2 iPads at home.
Right.
And
But-
I never mind back yet.
And that might be something that, on that policy, they need to work out, because if you use your personal, it is open records law, and there might have to be some kind of waiver signed or something, but we have to work that all out. And so far, we're letting you still use your personal device because it works good for you.
Okay, with that, I need a motion to adjourn. So motion by Supervisor Hendrick, and a second by Supervisor Nygaard. Please vote.
Last chance to vote. Motion carries 21-0. Merry Christmas, Happy New Year. I'm out of here. Bye.